Bam.
Bam! We need theme music. Take it away, Javier. Oh, beautiful. Welcome to Pontification Station. Or at least that's what it's called at this moment in time. And the reason it is called pontification is because we are going to pontificate about different things.
Yes.
Whether we know the answer or not, we're still going to talk about it.
We're going to think, Yeah. Take ourselves out of our comfort zone, if you will.
I don't even have a comfort zone. What was that?
My favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like your fuzzy mic. It looks like you're talking into like a hedgehog over there.
Yeah, that's why it hasn't been a good Sonic game in a while.
For those of you listening on the podcast, we are on GOTE.TV or Twitch.
Heck yeah.
Channel Gamers on the Edge. That's who we are. So Pontification Station is brought to you by Gamers on the Edge.
Gamers on the Edge.
The Edge is where the action takes place. And that's who we are. We're a group of gamers who like to get involved in the community, making a difference in the community. Oh,
why
wait.
is that open?
We have the door open?
Yeah.
Laurita? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, do we have coffee? Oh,
Café.
How about that? That's how you start a podcast right there. My wife is walking in with coffee.
What a darling.
Because she's the best. Oh, look at that.
Make sure you stir.
Stir.
The stirs are one beef.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
For those of you who don't know, that is my wife,
Oh my.
Lori. She keeps us from, I'll just say from going completely off the deep end. Because
Yeah.
I have crazy ideas, and Javier doesn't help, because a lot of times he's like, ooh, that sounds good, and then Lori comes in and goes,
I think I'm pretty good at telling you bad ideas. Like, which ideas are bad ideas?
Yeah, but it's not so much the bad idea as opposed to, like, how are we ever going to pull that off?
Oh yeah, because I have a problem with, like, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but that's a great idea.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's do it. But we have, like, no feasible way to pull it off.
Yeah, Lori will come in and be like, you guys know you need a permit for that, right? And it's like,
Only if they catch us.
sure, go for it, honey. Find it for us and make it happen. So she does. She makes things happen. So anyway, so today we're going to state 3 facts.
3 facts.
3.
3. A first one, a second, and a third one. And then we're going to go from there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Javier, I'm going to have you go first.
You're gonna have me go first?
Yeah, so that we can split it up. I'm gonna have you go first, and you know what? I'll go first. Why not? Sure, why not? You ready?
What a
Do
murder.
Yeah. So we've never done this before, so that's right. This is what we're doing.
No rehearsal.
No rehearsal. This is the dress rehearsal, which, trust me, it is a good thing that we're dressed. Sorry.
Diamonds are made under pressure, baby. Let's do this.
So, my fact for today and this week is Al Michaels, who was a football commentator, was traded for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Which, I can't imagine that whole conversation going down as Al Michaels, super famous Sunday Night Football broadcaster, gets traded for a cartoon character. And the basics of it, what happened was, for those of you who don't know, Oswald the Rabbit was actually Walt Disney's first creation. Before he made Mickey. Unfortunately for him, he made it in 1927 when he was working for Universal Pictures. So Universal Pictures kept the rights to him. Al Michaels was a broadcaster for Sunday Night Football. Here's the thing. At the time, ESPN was doing Sunday Night Football from 1987 all the way to 2005. So ESPN, aka ABC, aka Disney, had the rights to Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
In 2006, CBS gets the rights to Sunday Night Football. And Al Michaels, who's been doing Sunday Night Football for ESPN, is like, well, I want to go to CBS. I want to continue doing Sunday Night Football. At which time CBS is trying to figure out how they're going to get him over because he's got a good following. And this is where Oswald the Rabbit comes into play, because at this point, Disney, a.k.a. ESPN, a.k.a. ABC, says, we will give you Al Michaels so he can continue to do Sunday Night Football, and we get Oswald the Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's kind of weird that the whole Oswald the Rabbit thing took so long, but I guess the main thing of it was, for those of you who remember, the game Epic Mickey was going to be coming out for the Wii, and they wanted Oswald the Rabbit to be the antagonist, for lack of a better word, because I guess in a way he was the villain because he was mad and jealous at Mickey and the whole thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So, if I remember correctly, I can't remember if Oswald was in the first game or not. I know
yeah, he was in
Oswald,
the first one.
Yeah. So, in the first game, he was the antagonist
Right.
until the end. In the second game, he was actually a playable character, and I'm not gonna lie, the second game was actually pretty fun. It wasn't the best game in the world, but like it was a solid game with solid mechanics, especially
Definitely
for
underrated.
a Disney. A lot of the Disney games like that just aren't
Let
great.
alone a Wii game too.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no.
and by what I mean by that, like, of its time, because at that time, that's when Wii was really getting milked by peripherals and all the
Yeah.
other kind of shovelware games.
And speaking of peripherals, I mean, that was the very first game that actually got me to use the Wii Motion Plus remote.
With that brush attachment, right?
Yeah, because you had the whole brush thing and you were painting things. So prior to that game, I had not messed at all with a Motion Plus.
The best thing that happened to that game, in my opinion, was it moving to the Xbox. Like, it
No, give it to more people.
it was better controls, just a better overall feel. You didn't have to worry about the motion aspects, and while the Wii had good, it worked, the motion controls, but a lot of times it was just really janky. So it just kind of polished a lot of the problems that it had on the Wii.
The motion control was such a weird thing too. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was really funny because at the time I was working with a friend of mine who is a physical therapist, and I would go, to this nursing home and kind of help out every once in a while, and it was bowling. I mean, it was like the nursing home people were just Wii bowling was the thing.
I remember
with that
playing
motion
Wii bowling
thing.
with them. I actually remember going all the way out to Zephyr Hills and playing Wii bowling with a bunch of 80-year-olds.
Yeah. Javier went into the nursing home, teach the older people how to do the Wii bowling with the motion
There was no
control.
mercy. There was no mercy, even
No.
as a young child. Just,
No, to my understanding, that's a mandatory game in almost every kind of nursing home.
Yeah.
of course.
Well,
I mean, it video games in and of themselves improve your cognitive functions. It's been
absolutely.
shown in multiple studies, but the addition of the being able to keep up with your motor functions and actually continuing to practice moving at an older age where your brain is slowing down, it just helps.
Oh no, absolutely, because you autopilot at that point.
Yeah.
And mixing it up does that. Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, props to Nintendo for actually taking a little bit of time to make sure that they had Epic Mickey done right. Because, like I said, the transition from ESPN to CBS,
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football was in 2006. The game didn't come out until 2010.
What was
So they obviously had been talking about this, I think, as early from the research that I could find. And listen, you guys are more than welcome to research, check, and comment down at the bottom. But from the research I could find, it looks like they were actually talking about this back in 2004. Then they couldn't figure out how to get Oswald, And then in 2000, that transition from 2005 to 2006,
Yeah.
when all of a sudden Al Michaels wanted to go to CBS, they're like, aha, this is the perfect time for us to get Oswald the Rabbit. Although I can see Michael calling his wife and going, honey, I got traded for a cartoon character. A dead cartoon character for that, too, because nobody had even seen Oswald the Rabbit in forever. Now he actually shows up at the park. But
how many actual Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoons do you think there were?
I have no idea.
There are, where it's just standalone cartoons, there are 190.
Are you serious? That many?
190 from his original creation in 1927 to 1938. The last one was March 14th, 1938.
And then just completely disappeared until Al Michaels decided to switch teams. So
only, however, the first 27, if I'm not mistaken, were the only ones to be touched by Walt Disney.
Oh yeah, because they took him over.
Yeah, but
he belonged to Universal Pictures.
He only got the first 27 out before leaving. I just found that really interesting. I couldn't find a I was trying to compare how many like original cartoons Oswald had compared to Mickey, but I couldn't find any kind of number for how many like individual Mickey cartoons there were. Unfortunately.
Unfortunate. But anyway, so that is my fact of the week. I thought that was kind of cool.
Can I actually add to that fact?
You can always add to that. That's the whole point of this. To pontificate.
I know, because we're rabbit holing.
We're gonna pontificate until we punt it.
Jeez. Anyway. So, Epic Mickey was developed by Junction Point Studios. This company was actually co-founded by Warren Spector. Does that name ring a bell to you guys?
It does ring a bell, but I just couldn't
I'm starting to salivate.
Anyway,
it's the ringing of the bell.
Salivate?
Yeah. I can't talk English.
Salivate?
I can't talk English. My tongue gets tangled and my birds come out backwards.
Anyway, Warren Spector is responsible for Deus Ex, as well as like Ultimate Underworld, System Shock, Thief the Dark Project, aka some of the best computer RPGs of all time.
Oh, that's super cool.
And in other words, like this game was actually directed by a very competent developer.
That makes a lot of sense because I remember playing Epic Mickey and seeing all the art for it, and I was like, this is surprisingly dark for a Mickey game, for a character that is so known for being so joyous and so upbeat and bright. It was just a very, very almost like gothically dark.
Yeah,
style.
It was it was more impressionistic than it was, expression.
So part of that, from what I was reading, was a lot of the Disney cartoonists and the people involved in the Imagineering felt like Mickey had been watered down throughout the years.
Absolutely.
And the whole point of Epic Mickey was to revitalize and give Mickey back some personality and some edge and something that, this, because if you remember the original ones, he did stupid stuff. He was active and all that. And like I said,
he had a lot of attitude.
Yeah,
he lost
had
a lot of personality over the years.
And he got watered down. And the whole purpose of Epic Mickey, according to what I was reading, was to revitalize the character and just kind of, give him that edge that it had lost. Because the literal words that they used in the articles I was reading was that they felt that Mickey had been watered down throughout the years, and they wanted to fix that. So bringing him in makes sense now, because they did want to bring somebody in who had that edge,
I think that is a big problem with a lot of commercialized characters. The farther they go, the more generalized they get, and they lose their own individuality in order to reach further audiences, and you just lose a lot.
Well, and it's funny you say that because again we're kind of Disney geeks on this side here, so I can tell you that originally Mickey had more attitude, and originally Mickey did dumber things, and as the years went by, they wanted, like you said, to make Mickey more neutral, so they transferred more attitude towards Donald, and Donald got more attitude, and they transferred the stupidity into Goofy.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Mickey became very one-dimensional because they had taken those other two things that he used to do and just completely gave them to the other two characters.
If I remember correctly, it was less so to generalize him and more to make him a better role model.
Right.
Because they found out that
him having the attitude was
they wanted
not
more
a good role
kids to
model.
watch him, and they wanted parents to feel like, oh, this is a good role model. So they took those less desirable aspects
of him losing his
him
temper.
that made him a like relatable character, and they split it into two separate characters. And yeah, no, I just found that really interesting when I heard it.
And then Epic Mickey was like, no, we're giving him the attitude back because he needs it. And I think, like I said, I thought it was a really good move.
Sass is back.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to punt this one over to you, sir.
All the way?
Senor Stephen.
Okay, I suppose.
What do you got for us?
So my little statement is Nintendo accidentally creates its biggest rival, Sony PlayStation.
Okay.
Tell us more, sir.
Tell you more. So what that is... Anyway, so way back in the 90s, I'm talking Super Nintendo era, Nintendo and Sony had actually partnered previously. They basically worked on, or Nintendo hired out Sony to help them kind of upgrade the Super Nintendo a little bit by adding a certain kind of sound chip that just really, and the Super Nintendo is known for its amazing sound quality, I mean, of the time, obviously. So they already had a healthy relationship with that. And one of the big guys behind that was Ken Kutaragi of Sony. He was, hey guys, gaming's kind of a big deal. It's getting big. We should kind of jump into this. So that prompted a lot more partnerships going forward between Sony and Nintendo, to the point where they actually did create a console called Nintendo PlayStation. It was Nintendo's little small attempt trying to get into the CD realm, because CD was just now starting to become a thing at that point. It only got as far as the prototype, because
by the way,
Nintendo...
the original name was supposed to be Game Player.
Yes, that was another original name. There's a lot of names.
That's
but like
lame, but anyway, let's continue.
And the most famous one obviously being like, Nintendo PlayStation.
Yeah. That's better than Game Player.
Very weird. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it turned out, however, that Nintendo was also playing around with Phillips. And that name should kind of give like a spine tingle when you hear the name Phillips within the gaming community. So Nintendo actually ended up sticking with Phillips instead of Sony. Sony ultimately felt pretty betrayed, because one, Japanese business, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Two, they're like, hey, that's kind of not cool in general. And they almost just entirely just quit, because like, screw gaming, that was a bad deal. Obviously the business between the gaming world, just not for us.
Let me give you a 3 real quick.
Ooh.
Nintendo and PlayStation were supposed to announce the collab, and literally the week before they were supposed to announce it, Nintendo goes, never mind, we're going with Phillips. I mean, Sony had no heads up whatsoever.
None.
That's terrible.
And for all you...
That's what I meant by betrayed. They literally felt betrayed.
The week of, they didn't even tell Sony. They're just like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you, we're going with Phillips. Which, again, for those of you, the younger folks out there, I mean, right now, you don't think of Phillips as anything, but Phillips was, back in those days, it made sense. Phillips was massive. Phillips, put out the TVs from the 50s. They came up with the cassette tape. You guys can Google that up for those of you who are too young to know what a cassette tape is. But in 1963, Phillips actually came up with the cassette tape. They came up with the home video cassette recorder in 1972. So these were guys who were, innovative. To come up with an actual cassette recorder for home video was massive, So these guys were on top of things. So it wasn't that back then it looked like a bad move. It's just like you said, they completely betrayed them. The week before they were supposed to make their announcement, they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, we're going with Phillips."
No, it's not uncommon for businesses to decide on different, turning down deals and partnering with somebody else. But it was the execution of it all that played out pretty poorly. And again, Sony was originally like, "We're done. Yeah, we're out of gaming. This sucks. We're not doing this again." But again, back to the boy Ken Kutaragi. He kept pushing it, like, "No, guys, we gotta stay in this," and he actually managed to convince them, like, "What? Screw it, we know what to do now. With our previous projects and partnerships, we know how to make a console. Let's do it." And we have full, competence, or not competence, but full, trust in CD technology to do this. And well, we already know how that turned out between N64 and PlayStation. And we all know how badly that backfired to Nintendo with the Philips CDI, which was the kind of the end result of that partnership with Phillips, creating some of the worst games ever to be public, ever.
Do you know how much the Philips CDI was when it came out?
Wasn't it like $700 or something like that?
Oh, you're so good. $799.
Okay, $800.
On release in 1991. That is crazy. $799. Go ahead.
So,
I'm gonna look at the inflation of that real quick.
do you know the so you know the Famicom, right?
Of course, it's Japanese NES.
Yeah, Famicom. The reason it's called Famicom is because it's a shortened version of Family Computer, and
Correct.
I'm actually taking a Japanese course in college this semester.
Because you can.
Because I can. I
Weird flex, but okay.
Well, I have to take a certain amount of credits in order to keep grants. So
Of course.
and so my my professor, she's actually Japanese, and the reason that it's called the Famicom is because a lot of the words that that the Japanese people take from other languages. So you have hiragana and then you have katakana, not including kanji. But those are your two main, like, almost like their alphabets. And hiragana is for strictly Japanese words. Those are words that they use and that they've created for themselves. And katakana is what they use for foreign words. So whenever there's words like computer or like family computer, they like to shorten those words as much as they can. They don't like those long long phrases and long words. So they shortened it to Famicom just because, like, that's just something that they do. They just shorten those words. I don't think you'll find the word computer on any kind of sign in the streets of Japan, because, like, she's had us look through the streets of Japan before for, like, signs to read out in katakana and hiragana, and all of the times that I've seen that it has, like, a computer shop or like photography shop, a lot of those words are just shortened, and I thought that was really cool. I only learned that, like, recently too, so.
Yeah, I also learned that pretty recently too from a friend of mine who's also studying Japanese, and he really, again, the katakana just completely, Tom. So yeah, you two should geek out over that.
Heck yeah.
But no, it's phenomenal. Kind of like, hey, let's just take these influences from outside and then just kind of, make it towards kind of more colloquial than anything.
I wish I remembered. They have an actual word for that. Like, it's one of their they have, like, 5 main values in their culture that they focus on and they teach. There's there's one word.
You'll never find it.
I will never find it.
He'll never find it.
That's frustrating. But no, it's literally the idea and the concept of taking things from other people and making them better in order to fit into their own society. And like
Right.
you can really see it in a lot of the things that they do. They just put so much effort into their work and their art and just everything that they do. It's part of their honor and their pride.
Right. Except when it comes to business transactions, apparently.
Well, yeah. No, well, Nintendo has never been known to do the best.
That's absolutely true.
Speaking of which, so I got really curious about prices and how many units sold. So how many units of the N64 do you think sold?
If I were to give a ballpark figure,
Yeah.
in 64, probably 10 million maybe? Because I know it technically did not do that well.
Starting in 96 and discontinued in 2002, the amount of units sold was 32.9 million.
32.9. Damn, I'm way off.
32.9 million. And how many do you think sold of the PS1?
The PS1, if I recall, was technically cheaper. However, it was the new dog at the time. I'm going to say it beat N64. Let's say minimal 40 million.
So, starting in 1995, ending in 2006, I didn't realize that they actually were produced that late. 102.4 million. And actually, the N64 was cheaper by $100. The PS1 was $300 in its initial release, and the N64 was $200. So the N64 came out a year later. They undercut the PS1 by $100, and they still sold so much less.
Yep, I'm getting my metrics wrong because I was remembering the PS2 was 100 million units sold, and I'm like, nothing came close to PS2. That's the best-selling console, so that's why I'm way off.
The weird thing that I think, or not the weird thing, but like the funny thing that I think about when I think about Nintendo is that historically they've kind of been seen as just like the family console. I know that the N64, the Gamecube, the Wii, the Switch, we don't mention the Wii U. It was a dark time, but a lot of times they've had a lot of like family games on them, and I think it was hard to find a kid in like the mid 2000s that didn't have a Wii. It was just kind of like Nintendo's always been that.
Did you ever work for GameStop?
For 5 years.
Okay.
I was around for 2 launches.
So
console launches.
I think you will probably agree with me on this. I only worked at GameStop for like they call me part of the SWAT team. Like if it was like, yeah, I came in to manage the floor for like Black Friday or special days that they knew it was going to be crazy busy. Anyway, I wonder, were you a manager?
I was a key holder. Like that.
Okay. I was gonna say because I did training for like the managers. I did sales training for the managers a couple of years. I was like, I wonder if you were there, and we just didn't know. But
Maybe.
Anyway, it was funny because I felt like everybody had a PlayStation and a Wii, an Xbox and a Wii, and it was like the secondary system for everybody. You know, like
it was kind of like how everyone had the family computer.
Yeah,
here's the family Wii. Because mom had investment in it because of, let's be honest, the way that like the Wii marketed.
Right.
Same thing with the dad, but with everyone loves Wii bowling.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. It catered to anybody.
I was one of the strange people
Xbox,
that had
that's for gamers.
I was one of the strange people that had the Xbox and the PlayStation, but most people either had the Xbox and the Wii or the PlayStation and the Wii. It was rare the person that had the Xbox and the PlayStation. So everybody, so many Wiis were out there because it was the secondary one. But look, I don't want to overlook this because Javier says something that I did find interesting in the research. And to your original point, as we come all the way back around to the original point of them basically helping PlayStation, the issue was that even though the Nintendo 64, by the way, we said that Phillips was $799. The Nintendo 64 came out at $199. The Sony PlayStation came out at $299, so $100 more. But it didn't matter because in the process of Nintendo having to start over with Phillips, because they already had everything worked out with PlayStation. They were ready to get out. They were ready to release. When they went with Phillips, they had to start over a lot of things. So PlayStation released 18 months before the Nintendo 64. So literally PlayStation had a year and a half of zero competition. Because
they've already established that market.
The last system was $799. You show up with $299.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was all over this, and the Nintendo didn't come out till a year and a half later. So by that time, PlayStation had taken over.
And to add to both your points, real quick, because this was actually the tangent I was going to go on to after praising Ken Kutaragi for basically creating PlayStation, because Nintendo was known as that family console. I mean, they've been known as the family console forever,
right? Because
they never. I mean, this is way back when Doom and Mortal Kombat was becoming the controversy, left and right for violence in video games. Nintendo didn't want any of that. Any port that they had between Doom, Mortal Kombat. I mean, you all know about the sweat that comes out of players during Mortal Kombat when you get punched instead of blood. So Nintendo was known as that family-friendly market. PlayStation really took advantage of, hey, you're a gamer, you're a young adult.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's the console for you. You'll no longer be bottlenecked by Nintendo's. No, we don't want that game. We don't want that game. We don't want that game because it's like the Disney kind of effect.
Right.
Disney does not want any IP that can condone any kind of violence, any kind of targeting, anything like that. They don't want any part of that. Nintendo's the same way. It wasn't until GameCube era, 2003, when my personal favorite survival horror game, Eternal Darkness, Satan's Requiem, that Nintendo finally published a ready-to-game game. So 3-ish, 2004,
wow.
They finally licensed a ready-to-game game. So I think that kind of wins for us because it's always great when there's competition. Personally, I actually kind of love, different companies competing with each other to create games because it just means more games for us.
Right.
Yeah, you're kind of locked out of consoles, but that still means more games. And obviously they're competing with each other to make the best games. We win in the end. That's exactly what happened because if it wasn't for Nintendo, I guess, being a jerk to PlayStation, we would have never have gotten, Metal Gear Solid. We would have never gotten Symphony of the Night. So on and so forth. With Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, the list goes on of PlayStation classics.
Yeah.
So.
And with that, he just mentioned Solid Gear, Metal Gear Solid. Sorry, again, my tongue gets tangled. Birds come out backwards. I can't help it. But with that, we're going to move on to the next one. Unless everybody got anything else you want to throw in there.
I was gonna say two things. So
say the first one first.
One, I think that lack of competition is really what
a year and a half. It's crazy.
Really, what hurt
also,
the 64.
Thank you for reminding me too. Sorry, because it will get overblown. PlayStation also had a stupid, because again they were known for sound.
Yeah.
They helped out Nintendo with sound. They had the PlayStation was accidentally also one of the best media players for music.
Yeah.
Like accidentally, it became a great stereo basically.
Right.
So sorry, I had to throw that in.
Oh no, that's good. I'm a huge audiophile, so.
Yeah, you would have had a PlayStation then.
Yeah.
Again, it was affordability. $200-$300 versus $800 sound system. So.
I think that again the competition, the lack of competition, really hurt the N64, despite it having so many great titles. Honestly,
and being $100 cheaper.
Yeah, because again, one of the reasons why I think Nintendo has been the family console is because a lot of times they're just cheaper than the other consoles. And even with that, it still struggled. After years of producing good family games. Anyway, the second thing I was going to say is that the Wii actually isn't that far behind the PS1. So the Wii sold 101.6 million units, which is insane. They discontinued it in 2013. I just thought that.
Yep, right when the Wii U came out.
Yeah, I just think that was a fun metric.
All right. So before we move on to the next point, I want to break this up real quick because I got both of you here, and I just decided to have some fun. I'm gonna put both of you in some weird version of Family Feud here, and by weird version, I say we're gonna try to keep score depending on how well we can add. I'm not sure how well we can add.
Not.
But
I am going to cheat.
But let's see. I have you can't Google. I have 10. Let's see. 47,000 people surveyed as to best Nintendo games. So
like of all time.
So, yeah. So if you guess number 1, you get 1 point because that should be the easiest. If you guess number 10, you get 10 points. So that's why I said it's kind of a different version of this. And it requires math. I don't know how well I'll be able to add, but who knows. So you know what? Since you're on the other side of the screen, I'm going to let you go first. What do you, if you get it, you get to continue. What do you think is in that top 10?
Best, just Nintendo across the board or any specific console?
Yeah, no, it just says, the only question for the 47,000 people was best Nintendo games.
Well, I mean, I already know probably one of the best ones because of Metacritic, at least according to Metacritic. Ocarina of Time is definitely on the higher tier.
Oh, not
Is it
on
not?
here.
It's not top 10.
Not on here.
Like, I'm me saying that I'm not a fan of Ocarina of Time.
Oh wait! It is.
Oh,
Hold on.
I was about to say.
Wait. My bad. It is number 2 on the list. Number 2. I was
about to say, my shock wasn't, how dare they not put Ocarina?
So,
I'm just I'm thinking statistically.
You got 2 points. All right, you got 2 points already. Let's see what else
2.
you got. Yeah, you got 2 points because it was number 2 on the list. Number 1's very specific. I'm at least say that just so you know.
It's wait. By specific, is it like now
that's all I got. I can't tell you. It's just specific.
Yeah, fair enough. Mario 64.
Mario 64 is
That's
on here.
Not number 1.
Super Mario 64 is number 4. You got 6 points, sir. You got 6 points so far.
I'm trying to think of what would be. I mean, in my heart, Wind Waker, but Melee.
I honestly
Number
don't think...
9.
Really?
So, and like I'm just wondering what like where
I'm just, already.
Because like I'm trying to think like is this like common folk saying like yeah these are the best games or is this like a Smash Bros player
7,000 people surveyed.
Got it. Okay, so the sample size is literally
this is not like your top geekdom, you know. This is everybody. So you got 15...
that actually surprises me that Melee is on there then.
15 points. 15 points. Let's go.
Yeah, like that Melee was honestly an asshole.
All right, let's see.
That was me trying to gauge the survey.
That was a good one. That's like I said, you got a lot of points in that one. That was number 9.
I mean, I'm gonna say this too because it's oh crap. Hold on, does this even count though? Okay, Javier.
Yes.
You haven't looked at the list, have you?
No.
I got the phone over here facing me.
Perfect. So Javier, I want you to answer this.
Uh-oh.
Does Resident Evil 4 count as a GameCube game because it was technically a GameCube exclusive for a year and then it got ported over to the PlayStation? So you wouldn't count that as a GameCube or like
it's not a Nintendo game.
Thank you. Okay. That's what I'm wondering because like that was technically a GameCube exclusive, making it published by Nintendo, but so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't think that.
that being said,
exclusive games would count as like Nintendo games. Like I wouldn't consider, because if I'm not mistaken, Sony themselves didn't actually work on like Uncharted.
No, that was purely Naughty Dog. Sony just published.
So
it.
again, like I wouldn't consider that a.
Got it.
So you got 15 points. Let's see what you got. What else?
You're talking about developed by Nintendo.
You got 2, 4, and 9. 15
got
points.
It. I got some more answers. Anyway.
All right, what you got?
Okay. And
your audio.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I forgot I had push to talk on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like a mental flip a coin because I have 2 games. One is risky, but it is statistically a great game.
All right.
And one is a more mainstream game.
Let's go.
I'm gonna do a pro gamer move. Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime might be a little too.
And see, I'm wondering if that's
deep
niche.
cut for the natural.
It is not there.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Like
true
Nintendo lovers and true like Metroid fans, they're like, yes.
I'm talking about like just. I hate to say this word, gamers. I'm thinking. I'm actually trying to think objectively versus subjectively. If that makes sense.
Right.
Metroid Prime is objectively one of the greatest games of all time.
So he's got 15 points. Javier, what do you got?
I hate this survey.
Super Mario Bros. 3.
Super Mario Bros. 3 is number 1 on the list.
I knew it.
Man,
so the good
that
news,
was my second game.
So the good news and the bad news is that Javier's on the board, but because his number 1, he got 1 point. So you're still winning 15-1.
Did you just debate us with that, sir?
No.
Or is this golf rules?
They're worth however points they are on the board.
Yeah, because
number 1's the easiest to find.
Theoretically, the lower ones on the list are harder.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different variables.
I have a confession. I've never watched Family Feud.
That's okay.
Well, no,
I've completely
Feud
messed up the
other
rules.
way around.
So this is the other way around.
Oh,
This is backwards from Family Feud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, exactly. We do everything backwards. Go for it.
So super. Yeah, no,
15-1. He's making a comeback
I've heard
here.
so many people rant and rave about Super Mario Bros. 3.
Let's go. What you got?
Well, I mean, it is probably one of the Mario games.
It's a great game.
It's my favorite 2D Mario game.
I hate to continue going. Is
that? Are you saying you quit?
Metroid 2?
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
No Metro.
No, Metroid 2 got screwed because it was released for Game Boy. Late to Game Boy.
All right, so 15-1. Back to you, Steven.
I have too many Metroid friends.
I'm gonna throw a ratchet in here and throw a newer game, Breath of the Wild.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Look at that. He's got 21 points, Javier. You're gonna have to make. He's got to miss, and you got to come back big.
I don't think I can make it back
Let's
at
go.
this point.
Unless, you can.
So I can get because he
He's
got
9.
2,
4, 6, and 9. Yeah, he's got.
So if I get 7,
21.
8, and 10, then I'm good.
All right, go for it. What else you got?
That's if you get it.
Go on.
I'm going to. Excuse me?
I say go on.
Listen, come on already.
You're so confident. Hit us with those deep cuts, Steven.
Because I'm about to say Animal Crossing, but I've got to figure out which one I want to say because there's 40 billion that are all good except like 2. I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm only gonna say this one because of the timing that it came out, and by that I mean COVID. Animal Crossing, the latest one for Nintendo Switch.
Horizon.
Thank you, New Horizons. I almost said New Leaf, but that's the 3DS one.
New Leaf, and the answer is no.
Sucker!
It's not even in the top 20.
How?
It's not.
I thought that game blew up.
It's not even in the top 20. So Javier, you still got a chance at this. Let's see what you got.
Okay.
I believe in you.
You can't look stuff up. You gotta.
No. I'm looking up the name of the game. I'm not looking up games. What's the
Name of the game.
Yes. Is the because I'm. It is.
I think you know all these names without even looking them up.
Who, me? Yeah.
Both of you.
You know what?
Javier's sitting there with 1 point on the board.
Yeah.
To be fair, you kind of have these weird point system.
It's perfect.
So if we're talking Nintendo games,
We're being wrong pays off.
oh, Star Fox 64.
That's a really good answer.
Unfortunately, it's not on there.
Really?
What? Javier, can you please agree with me that this survey is bullshit?
That I don't understand this survey. That's such a I'm not even a fan of on-rails shooters, but that game's a classic.
No, it's
Yep.
it's the best 3D one of its time.
Not on there. All right, what you got?
So wild.
2 more.
Because I'm a jump superstar. I'm gonna say Super Mario Odyssey.
Whoa, move here. Hold on. My phone froze. Really? My phone just did froze. Hold on.
So let us pontificate while he is looking
Let
at
us
this.
pontificate. Perfect.
So he said that we
go for
will
it.
know all of these without needing to look anything up, which means that we are not going to have a any kind of weird Mario Karts. We're not going to have any kind of weird Mario parties, unless he's specifically just going to be like.
Which one did you say? Now that I'm back up.
Well, hold on. Crap. What did I say? Oh, I said Super Mario Odyssey. Also, again, are these specifically games developed by Nintendo? And what I mean by that, like, technically Pokemon was not developed by Nintendo. That's Game Freak.
Super Mario Odyssey. No.
What the?
All right, Javier.
I think
This is your last one. You got to pull this one off.
Super Mario Sunshine. Give me that.
And the answer is no.
That's such a good game.
All right, so here's the list. You ready? Number 1, and by the way, Steven wins the first ever Gamers on the Edge messed up feud.
Messed up for sure.
With Super Mario Bros. 3, number 1. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 2. Number 3, Super Mario World. My phone did froze again. Man, what is wrong with this thing?
I'm gonna make a prediction here and say you're gonna say Super Mario Galaxy.
Ooh, see, I never played Super Mario Galaxy.
I played a little bit of them, never completed them. To my understanding, they are amazing.
So I've heard. I've seen some gameplay of it, and it looks interesting. My only problem again is just motion controls. I'm not a huge fan.
All right, so Super Mario World number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario 64 number 4. Link to the Past number 5.
That was gonna be my next one.
Breath of the Wild number 6. Super Mario Bros. 7. Mario Kart 64. I can't believe you didn't go there. Number 8. Melee number 9. And in 10, Donkey Kong Country.
I thought you said Melee wasn't on the list. Or
No,
did I-
9.
he
Yeah,
said
you
it was
got 9
9
points for Melee.
Oh yeah, sorry. I remember like it not being on there.
No, you got 9
There was a
points.
lot of good games that weren't on there. Apparently,
You won.
that's the dumbest list. They didn't even say like. Well, screw you. The
We're too
GoldenEye
gamer
007
for this
doesn't
list,
exist.
Steven. We're too gamer.
That's
for
the
this
problem.
list.
That's the problem. Metroid Prime is not on there. Get the hell out of here.
Thank you, Ranker.
Oh, that's your problem. That's your problem.
That's your problem.
I'm too good at games.
47,000 people.
Ranker, more like janker.
Am I right, fellas? Ha 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 ha. You literally just did like the off-brand BuzzFeed.
All right, so all right, here we go. So now for the last
BuzzFeed's
point.
already off-brand. What are you talking about?
I know. I know it's the great value version.
It is Javier's the last point today. By the way, if you guys missed this, we are going to put this up on our podcast soon. I will probably put it on the podcast called 2-for-1 Happy Hour until I actually create the
We're still pontificating
the
name.
Pontification Station podcast. But for now, I'll just drop it on the 2-for-1 Happy Hour podcast. You'll find Javier and I on there.
Heck yeah.
And now the marvelous Steven has joined the team. So go check it out. For those of you who missed it, there's some good stuff at the beginning. But let's do the last point here. Each one of us brought random facts today. Javier, bringing in the last fact of the day is...
So, my fact kind of, like, evolved and changed. So, my original fact, I was thinking, this is our first kind of, our first test run of this format where we all bring in ideas about gaming, or facts about gaming.
Let me pause real quick for anybody listening. As Javier is saying, this is our first one. I want you to understand that our initial fact, I think my wife said it best, is like a diving board. Our initial fact is where we put it out there. This is an interesting fact, and then from there we just dive, and everything happens on the way down. So the original fact is kind of interesting, but the real interesting part is what happens on the way down before we hit the water.
Yeah.
And this was kind of a perfect format for myself because I have absolutely no attention span. So as I got your initial fact, I started to just Google. I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. Just kind of went all over the place. The bunny trails are for real. So go ahead, go from there.
Different directions that we can go with each of these facts.
Yep.
So my original fact was that the first game to use the Konami code is actually Gradius back in 1985. So Gradius,
Not Contra.
not Contra. No, Contra, however, is the first game that popularized it in Western culture.
Yeah, before it was called
Correct.
the Konami code, actually a lot of people called it the Contra code or the 30 Lives code.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. Because it made the game more possible.
Yeah. In I think the words that I found, like the exact wording, was that it made the game able to be feasibly beaten.
Right, because this
just
was at a time when
difficulty in it.
Right, because this was at a time where developers still did not know how to make a game that was based off arcade that was not designed to eat your quarters. Because that's why arcade games are stupid hard, because money. And a lot of any old NES games are hard as nails because of that same mindset of making hard games instead of long games.
So
Because the difficulty made it last longer.
yeah. So the the thing that immediately happened when I found this fact was not what else has the Konami code been used in? Because we've all seen the Konami code used in various forms of media. Wasn't it in Wreck-It Ralph too? No, not Wreck-It Ralph 2, but like Wreck-It Ralph also.
As well, yeah. No, it was. I think it was referenced in that.
Yeah.
It's referenced almost every.
I think that was the big plot point at the end that helped them beat the boss. Anyway, so we've all seen it. In GTA, it makes your head big. But
and for those who don't know, it's up, down, left, right, B,
a
A.
start.
And on
Or
Assassin's,
select,
by the way,
depending
one of
on
my
if you're
favorite
playing a multiplayer
uses
game or
of
not.
that code in Assassin's Creed 3, if you walk up to one of the turkeys and you do the code, the turkey will actually get an assassin's hood. That I love that. I love stupidity. And that is right up there. I mean, that is absolutely pointless. There's no
Absolutely
need for
pointless.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Assassin's Creed 3, if you walk up to one of the turkeys and you do the code, the turkey will all of a sudden have an assassin hood on his head,
Yep.
which is
And
beautiful.
also, like almost every Konami-based game, whether it be they published it or developed it themselves, has some utilization of the Konami code.
Yeah. What I found interesting was, again, and I really didn't know much about it, was, and Javier kind of touched on it when he said that the game, it made the game beatable. I guess it was created because... What, you were gonna go there? Yeah, go ahead.
That was literally where I was getting. So what I was gonna say is that as soon as I found what game it was in, originally, I was like, why is this created? Like, what is the point of this? So, Kazuhisa Hashimoto is the person who actually initially created the Konami code, and so essentially, as you were touching on earlier, games back then, like, they just didn't know how to make them easier and more digestible for your common audience. Which is,
otherwise, you beat them in 30 minutes.
I think that's one of the reasons why early gamers they were so hardcore about their games, just because they had to put so much time and do so much studying in order to actually beat the games and get like get.
It was a rich man's game, you see.
Yeah. So
nice.
Again, the reason they beat it is because when they were testing it out and everything, the developers couldn't beat the game.
Yep, I know about this.
In 2003, he was in a, I can't remember with who, but he was in an interview, and he was like, I didn't put enough time into the game and didn't have the skill to beat it. So what happened was they created the code, the Konami code, and it gave them all but like 3 power-ups, and it made the game substantially easier.
So they could actually test it.
They could test it. The developers themselves couldn't actually beat their own game. I thought that was hysterical.
This wasn't for the consumers. It was for the boys. No, because it was easier to just do that versus having to go to a debug menu every time they wanted to
and I
go
guess
through it.
It was like a week or two before release that they realized, oh crap, we didn't take the code out. And at that point, they realized that if they took the code out, they were going to have other issues.
Yeah, they'd have to recode
with
the game.
Bugs and reprogramming and everything. And they're like, you know what? Just at this point, just leave it. Nobody will ever find it.
Speaking of weird files in games, Team Fortress 2. So Team Fortress 2, great game, by the way.
I know. I have spent many of hours in that beautiful game. So
they were going through and like doing bug fixes and stuff, and they found if I'm not mistaken, they found a random JPEG of a potato. A random JPEG of a potato just in the code. And they're like, why is this here? So they took it out, and as soon as they took it out and updated, none of the hats worked. Not a single hat. And they spent so much time trying to figure out why that changed anything.
It was a load-bearing potato.
In the end, they ended up just putting the JPEG back in because they're like, we can't figure this out. There's so much code to go through. We don't know why this is affecting it in the way it is. So there's just a random JPEG of a potato in the files for Team Fortress 2, and it keeps the hats working.
Wow. But let me tell you something. Hey, feel free to jump in, but these are some of the rabbit trails that I just went down when we started talking about Konami. I just started to look stuff up. I guess this guy also created the Goonies video game, which is basically Mega Man, just for the record.
Basically, except Goonies 2, which turns into a point-and-click adventure game.
And then Track and Field, which was one of my favorite games when I was growing up. Just because I like to push buttons, there was really no other reason.
A Master Masher.
But as far as Konami is concerned, obviously Metal Gear Solid, I mean, consider best PS1 game ever. I spent so much time on that. It was so good. Absolutely loved it.
I think everyone has gone through a Metal Gear phase throughout their gaming career.
Yeah, other interesting things that I found about Konami, Silent Hill.
That's my bread and butter.
Well, here's the thing that I found interesting about Silent Hill, because it's not my bread and butter. It's not down, my lane. But I didn't realize that Silent Hill was the first survival horror game to not have somebody who was like athletic and trained fighter. This was like
it was the
normie.
best example of an everyman.
Yeah,
The best example, and that's one of my favorite things about it.
So I thought that was really cool. Again, you know, revolutionary as far as Konami is concerned. You know, that really changed things up, because right up to that point, every survival game had people who were trained fighters or something. I mean,
let's think of the best example, like the epitome of survival horror, Resident Evil. You
I was
are
just
stars. You are special forces. You're investigating. You know, like it. No, this is an everyman looking for his daughter because of a crash happened, and it's foggy. Yeah, like, sorry, I love Silent Hill, so I'm right now.
Yeah.
No, and to your point, like, have you ever seen Harry Mason hold a gun? It's so awkward in that game. It's been by design. Like, the man moves awkwardly. He does not run. Like, he runs goofily. Every gun he holds is goofy. Swinging a weapon is incredibly slow because he doesn't know, but he's just reacting to the moment. Brilliant.
And here's another one again. And again, for those of you just joining us, this is Rabbit Trail after Rabbit Trail, perfect for my attention span.
Rambling.
Boy, did I go down a rabbit trail on this. I was looking at Konami games, and I found Qbert. And then from there...
He's always cussing at me.
Well, here's the thing about that. So... I was like, where in the world did those things come from? And I guess they're called Grolix. Those symbols are called Grolix, and they were actually first used in 1901 in a comic, newspaper comic by Lady Bountiful. So this goes like way back to 1901, where the Grolix started to be used. They were actually popularized by Beetle Bailey comics in like the 1950s. I think it was like 1955. But Qbert was a really weird one, because I can't remember which one of you mentioned that at the time. Oh, it was you, Steven. You mentioned that at the time people didn't know how to make games that didn't eat quarters. You know,
right.
How to make
or rather a design philosophy of like this guy, the trial and error. You have to keep trying. Yeah.
This is a little creepy, a little cool, all at the same time. The guy who made Qbert went to a Brunswick bowling alley, put in the game under the actual, instead of putting Qbert, he actually had the symbols as the name of the game.
Yeah.
And then sat behind a one-way mirror and watched people play for days to see what their reaction was and how they reacted to the game and how they did. So it was like this weird kind of creepy thing where he was just watching people, because he didn't tell anybody, you know. Obviously the bowling alley knew, because he had the one-way mirror, and then he ended up going, no, this game's too difficult. And he made it.
Brunswick had no idea either.
Yeah, he made the game easier after seeing people get mad at the game and walk off and storm off. Like, and again, because Qbert has such weird controls.
Yeah.
Because it was completely different control pattern than any other game at the time.
Oh, we know, incredibly goofy isometric puzzle solving game.
Yeah.
Where you have to keep moving. Yeah.
So I just thought it was funny because he actually put it out for people to play, and then hid behind a one-way mirror and went, this game's too hard. Yeah. And then he toned it back down after watching people get frustrated and walk away from it at the bowling alley.
That's a very interesting way to get a sample group.
Right? I'm not telling anyone. I'm just going to put this at the bowling alley and just watch from behind the mirror.
And again, that just reminds me of Stephen King and his habit of people watching in order to get material.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is, again, pointless, but I'll close with this one. I was working in Sarasota, selling shoes, expensive shoes. They were like, cheapest pair of shoes I had was a pair of sandals for $250. And
damn Birkenstocks.
I'm working with this lady. They were Mephistos. Birkenstocks. We didn't sell Birkenstocks. They were cheap.
Excuse me.
I'm working with this lady, and this dude walks in. He's got a weird limp. He sits down next to us, and I say, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "I'm just watching." Which was really weird terminology.
Immediately red flag.
Yeah, just watching. What in the world? It's like 7 o'clock at night, you know?
That would not fly.
And again, Sarasota, it was kind of, the mall was empty. It's just, I'm just watching. And then the lady's like freaking out, like, I should know who this guy is. And I sort of, you know, it's like a face that I've seen before, but not enough to recognize who it is. Anyway, so I keep working with her. A half hour later, he just sat there for a half hour. Half hour later, I finish, and he goes, thank you, and he leaves. And again, this is when she finally says something. It was Stephen King. So Stephen King came into the shop and was just watching us. I found out from security that he does that on the regular over in Sarasota. He'll go to the food court and just watch people. So that's been the joke for the longest time in the family. Lori, my wife's dad, said that if he ever writes a book about a crazy salesperson, then we know who inspired it.
It's about shoes that eat people's feet.
Yeah. It's just some crazy salesperson. It was me. But it was funny. I guess he had just had a car accident. That's why he was limping.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was after the car accident. He was starting to kind of get back out. And but yeah. So if you ever want to catch him, you can randomly catch him in the Sarasota Square Mall. He goes out there and just watches people. It's kind of weird. But I asked security, I was like, what is this? He's like, yeah, he does that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if it creates another good book, by all means.
Yep. And with that, I think that covers it for today. We don't have an outro song, so we'll just sing it. La, la, la.
La, la, lo.
Take it away.
La la la.
That was beautiful, guys.
Thank you. I try. I really do.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us again. This is Pontification Station, at least for now, until we change the name, which we might not. Who knows? If you got suggestions, throw them at us. We'll take suggestions. Just keep in mind that the reason for Pontification Station right now is because we can pretty much go anywhere with any kind of format, because more than likely next Tuesday we might try a completely different format just because we can.
Who cares? Right, no rules.
Again, this is Pontification Station, brought to you by Gamers on the Edge.
Heck yeah.
Check us out, gamersontheedge.com. Check us out on Twitter. We're Gamers on the Edge everywhere, except for Instagram for some reason. We are GOTE for the kids. And for those of you who don't know, we do fundraising for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Over $100,000 since we started doing this. It's been an amazing journey, because the gaming community is an amazing community. And with that, guys, we shall see you next week. Catch us on the Twitch channel, gote.tv in a browser, or Twitch, just go to Gamers on the Edge. That's us if you're listening to us on the podcast. And again, thank you so much. We shall see you around. Until next time.
Do it.
Making a difference. See ya.
Stay beautiful.